We've all faced what I call a life interruption. An interruption is a disturbance. So the life interruption was my father. He was going through a green light and a person ran a red light, hit him, and then my father passed.
Tim Storey is the comeback coach for stars like Robert Downey Jr., like Charlie Sheen, like Grant Cardone, and many others. He's also helped millions across 78 countries transform setbacks into comebacks.
If you build your spot, life will put the spotlight on your spot. My spot was to be very good in understanding human beings. I was constantly studying, constantly learning, constantly serving, plowing, planting, watering is repetition. And then the harvest came. But the harvest came so much more than I ever thought.
Do you have some strategies for people who are listening right now to this episode and saying, I'm in a dark place, I'm losing the belief, I'm losing my ability to dream?
One of the things we need to do is...
Tim, first of all, thank you for sharing and being here.
I'm excited because we're friends, so we're going to have a great conversation.
It will be amazing. So, Tim, I want to take you to your childhood, if that's okay, because I think a lot of the seeds start there. And I want you to take us back in time, maybe pre-age 10, and maybe right at, like a big thing that happened in your life. Walk us through this for a second, Tim.
Yeah, number one, I love where you're going with this because so much of our life in the formation of it is before age 10. So if we go birth to 10, those are really rough years for me, birth to 10, because what took place in our lives is that we were struggling financially, struggling with leadership in the house, where my parents were not in a great relationship. And so my parents were raising 5 children with a lot of instability in their own lives. And then the fact of being more lower income, that added to the equation. But in the midst of that, I had a very good attitude and I had a very good sense of humor.
Do you think you felt it? You felt that they were financially challenged, or at that point you're still too young to really realize it?
I definitely felt it. And the way I felt it is when I started to play sports. So when you played sports, let's say in baseball, so you had to get these little league shoes, they call them cleats. And then I realized that some of the other kids were getting like very nice ones, like maybe Adidas. And then I wanted certain types like them, and we could not afford them. And with the sports side of things, I started to realize it with school clothes, realized it, birthdays or Christmas, realized it. But it wasn't something that I talked about, but I saw that something was different.
Right. And then right at the age of 10, which is actually a pretty pivotal time for any kid, you had a big thing happen in your family. Can you share, and how did that shake your world?
Yeah, and I think that it's something that all of us that are watching right now and listening, we've all faced what I call a life interruption. An interruption is a disturbance. It is like a knock on the door that you do not expect. It's a call at 3 a.m. Usually something is not good. If you have family members, you wonder, like, what's wrong? So the life interruption was my father wanted to get my mother food. So he called a local restaurant, ordered food for my mother and my father. And it's an interesting thing. The reason he ordered food for my mother is because we had eaten that night. And I just asked her this about 2 months ago. And I said, well, why did you need food? And she said, because this was common when you're cooking for 5 kids and they keep saying, do we have any more? Do we have any more? It's easy for the mother to sacrifice and then say, I'll find something else to eat. She said, but that particular night, I had nothing else in the house. So your father went to get me food and he was going through a green light and a person ran a red light, hit him, and then my father passed. Now, so it was an accident. The man that was driving did not do it on purpose. He was looking down for paperwork. But the interesting thing about it, he was actually a police officer on duty in the police car. So that was a very strange thing in life. For one day, my father was there, and then the next day he was not. And there was a lot of added pressure to pressure that we already had. But when I'm saying all this, it's not like a downer because we found our way through the storm, but that's just the reality of what happened at that time.
Which again, it will shake Tim, everybody, right? And I do want to go there for a second, if you will, because I think, especially now, a lot of people are going through a lot of life moments.
Yeah.
And and I think at that point, I'm sure you saw your mom crying. I'm sure you saw, a lot of stress. Like, how does that, because again, at that point, you have a choice, right? And you can kind of go down the black, very dark area, and you can actually take it, and what you've done is anchored faith, etc. But why, in that pivotal moment, how did that shape you, Tim?
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to have three older sisters and then a brother. So I have a sister 8 years older, 7 years older, 6 years older, and then a brother who 3 years older, and then I'm the youngest. So my older sister is just a leader of leaders and still is. So she was very wise in the area of education. So even when we were in tough neighborhoods, she saw that we all did our homework. We knew how to really pull together. Everybody knew how to do the dishes, but at a high standard. Our house was small, but always very, very clean. Um, those things were important because we were able to rely on each other. So instead of there being like pain and then panic and then separation, there was pain, probably some panic, but then we learned to try to come together to heal each other.
That's incredible what you just said, because I think who you surround yourself at those moments is just so critical. And I didn't think about it in the way you just said it. So at that point, you're in Kempton. It's a small area, right? I'm sure you
Yeah.
see just regular, in general, you see people that are not necessarily choosing kind of more of a dark path. But for you, it's like very clear that you're going to lean on the light or the faith, etc. Take us there. Like, how did you grow up from that point? So teenhood later on. So
Yeah, I think what happens is that if you were to watch the movie King Richard and see Venus and Serena Williams, so
yeah.
that is a good part of the parts of LA that we were raised in. So there was a lot of challenges in that area, but there were in inner city Detroit, Chicago, New York City, certain parts. So, but I was raised in an area where you really had to guard yourself. You had to really make sure you made the right choices because the wrong choices at an early age could really take you to the wrong place fast. So I
Right.
have people that are my cousins. They are the children of my aunts or uncles that are still incarcerated to this day. And
Wow.
I've been around a while. They're still incarcerated to this day. They're in jail. They're in prison. So they did not make the right choices. So for me, it was going to church was a big thing for me. I found that to be a safe place. I found sports to be a safe place. I played the traditional American sports, basketball, baseball, football, and my coaches were fantastic. My coaches played a real key in my life, in my
Wow.
development, and bringing out the champion that was inside of me.
That's incredible. Do you think that helped shape that desire to devote yourself to lifting others and to do the same? Like, do you think that's part of it?
What 100%. I mean, because when you think of my sixth grade teacher, um, now that we had moved out of Compton, we were in another part of Los Angeles, and he was Caucasian, and he said to me, "Tim Story, can you stay after class?" I stayed after class. He says, "I think you are brilliant. And because I think you are brilliant, I want to see if you would like to read one of these books from my library." And I chose this book on the life of Michelangelo. But for this guy to call me brilliant, I'd never heard that word before. So he literally branded me brilliant, is the way I say it in my talks. But the thing that I was wise enough to do at that age is not push away what he said. When he said, "I think you are brilliant," I didn't question it. I took it and I just like put it here. So people like that made a big impact on me and definitely has encouraged me to be what I am today and encouraging other people.
That's incredible. Do you want to share that story, by the way? Because you have a beautiful second part to that beautiful story was that teacher. Do you want to share that? It is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah. What happens is that, the teacher says to me, "Timmy Story, can you stay after class?" And then there's like a, ooh, all the kids listen. Um, so I go to his desk. He offers up 3 books. He says, "You got to be done in 3 weeks. You have to check it out like you do at a library." He had a card. I had to sign it. I was only in sixth grade. Um, I read the book, and literally all these years later, I'm like 30 years of age and I'm living on top. I'm already known as the life coach to the stars. I'm talking to people like Charlton Heston, Elliot Gould, Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, Vidal Sassoon, Lee Iacocca. And my life had exploded to this amazing place, getting over 1,000 invitations a year to speak. And I'm going to Maui to speak, 30 years of age. And I'm sitting in first class with this very classy lady next to me. And she's in her 70s. We started to talk, and she says, "Young man, I've been watching you before we got on the plane. You walk like you walk on clouds." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting." She goes, "No, you have this real thing about you, this real piece about you." And she says, "Tell me about your background." So we talked a little bit. I could tell she was very, very smart and was definitely somebody that was accomplished. But at that point, I didn't know who she was. So she said, uh, like, "Who are some of your early influences?" And for some reason, I decided to tell that story of the sixth grade teacher. And I said, and he gave me a choice of books. And she said, "Well, which book did you choose?" I said, "I chose a book about the life of Michelangelo." And then she gave me a kind of an interesting look. And she said, "Do you remember the name of the book?" I said, "Yeah, it was The Agony and the Ecstasy." She goes, "Do you remember the name of the writer?" I said, "Yeah, it was Irving Stone." And she says, "That would have been my husband. My name is Gene Stone." And she started crying.
Wow.
Just amazing. Yeah. So the fact that Gene Stone's husband, Irving Stone, wrote that book that helped change my life when my sixth grade teacher gave it to me, and she was the editor of that book. And then
Amazing.
we became friends. She was a very powerful lady in Beverly Hills. I later moved to Beverly Hills, not far from her, and we became like very good friends. I mean, what an amazing story.
It's an incredible story. Like it gives me chills. I had to have you share it. But and so, but take me back in time, right? You're suddenly you're this like really young man that decides to travel internationally and speak, right? And I'm sure that people gave you the looks. I'm sure it was, like people didn't or underestimated you because that's pretty classic. Tell me a little bit, how did you get the grit to, at age whatever, 20, start traveling the world?
So I really do believe this, that if you build your spot, life will put the spotlight on your spot. So my spot was to be very good in understanding human beings. So my doctorate is in world religion and then master's in counseling therapy. So that was a spot I built. I never built that spot thinking that I would become really well known for building that spot at all. But I wanted to build it. So when I say build it, I call it the law of the harvest. You got to plow the ground, you got to plant the seed, you have to water the seed, and then you get the harvest. So I was constantly studying, constantly learning, constantly serving, plowing, planting, watering is repetition. And then the harvest came. But the harvest came so much more than I ever thought would happen. And that was through this ability to help people that people in the entertainment business started to see, and very famous people that we were raised watching their movies. I mean, the most famous
Right.
started to look for me. And then they
But I
said,
want to go there. I want to go there before you go there. It's this is fast, right? And we, as people, first of all, we're lacking patience. We want everything yesterday. So I get that. That's part of the thing. But for you, again, you're starting from, to some extent, Tim, not much, right? It's not like you grew up to know all these people. Like, how do you even make connection with those people? How do you get in front of them? Like, how do you get their attention? Tell us a little bit. What happened?
I'm very non-traditional in the way I approach this. I think that the average book would say, you have to be in the room. You have to find a way in the room. I do think that that is one way. Like, even the community that you've created is a great room to be in, because like attracts like. And there's things that we can learn from each other and gain from each other, then possibly collaborate through the power of partnership. Okay. So that's one way. And the other thing is that a lot of people think that, oh, I need to get to know that person. Like, that person is doing what I'd like to do. What would it take? I need to get to that person. I don't think that way. I think I may want that person's ideas, so I might read their book. I may want to know more about them, so I may read articles about them, or I may watch a documentary. So there's heroes of mine and people that I respect, like a Malcolm Gladwell, that I've still never met. In fact, I was at a meeting not so long ago, and some people said, "Hey, Jeff Bezos and Malcolm Gladwell are in the back, and come on, I want to introduce you to him." I said, "I'm good." This is a true story. I said, "I'm good," because that's not really what I need to do. So congratulations to Jeff Bezos, what he's done, and Malcolm Gladwell, but that's not what I needed to do. I'm building my spot and cultivating my land and believing that doing that, that people would start looking for me, and they did.
So, Tim, at any point in the beginning, were you scared before you knew all these big people, right? Like, were you scared that maybe you can't make a living out of this? Maybe you need to get a 9 to 5 job. Maybe entrepreneurship. I mean, this is a hard type of entrepreneurship. So,
Yeah.
did it ever
I
cross your
think I
mind?
think it's I think again it's the opposite of what most people would think. Um and that is because there was no expectations of an end result. So the end result did not look like I will live in Beverly Hills. The end result did not look like I will have an office on Cannon Drive. The end result did not look like I would speak to up to 85,000 people at a time and be interviewed by Oprah a lot and be in her books and documentaries. And there was no end result. It was build your spot and life would put the spotlight on your spot. So just as much as I enjoy being on the NBC Today show, I love to go into prisons and I'm involved in prison reform and try to educate people to get up and out. I still work in the rehab business, real big. I go into rehab centers for free and volunteer my time to speak to people to try to help them turn their setback to come back. So to me, what's big to one person is not necessarily big to me.
Wow, that's amazing. So were there moments like, I don't know, in the 2000s or 2008, or maybe those didn't really hurt you, but COVID, I don't know, like were there moments where you're suddenly like, man, this is hard? Like are there moments where you also doubt yourself, Tim?
So 2008, with the housing crisis and everything that went on, um, I obviously see the challenge. I'm realistic about the challenge. I'm realistic about the economy in America. I'm very realistic about division in America. You know, many of my friends who are politicians have wanted me to get into politics starting when I was probably 27 years of age. I spoke to the US Congress at 28 years of age. So, you know, that is a way I could have gone. So I'm very aware of the challenges that we face. But the way I look at it is that life is seasonal. There are winter, springs, summer, and falls. And so if we are in a winter season, I want to know, what should I learn from this winter season? If there's challenges in my life or in my family, what can I learn? How can I grow? How can I get better? How can I be more prepared for the other seasons? So to me, life is seasonal. So even though I'm doing well in my jobs, plural, we all have our own challenges. So it might be my mother aging, she's 94 now, or it might be another situation in my life. So that's how I see life. I'm not looking just for a life of summer.
Right.
And so I don't get let down on rainy days.
Wow, that's strong. And I love that you said that because I think some people are feeling a lot of winter right now, and I think they
Yeah.
need to hear it. So they need to hear how to grow. And I think in your book, The Miracle Mentality, I think you talk also a lot about not only recuperating from these things, but also how to not to live beyond the average thinking, like how to look much grander than to what your full potential is, and
Yes.
not to look at just survival, right? So take us there for a second, and what shaped that book?
So the miracle mentality I started studying about 30 years ago. So a mentality, as you know, is a mindset. It is a perspective. And a miracle is something that's just very simple, extraordinary, uncommon. And little kids have a miracle mentality. You could take any 4 or 5-year-old into a toy store and they think their parents can buy them anything in the store because they have a miracle mentality and they're connected to their parents and they feel like my parents are the source.
Right.
So, you know, like I tease about this in a talk that a mother could say to a daughter, "Oh, here's the Barbie." And then the daughter at 5 will say, but what about the whole Barbie house? And the Barbie house is huge. And the mom knows she can't afford the house, but she can afford the Barbie. But the daughter doesn't understand because she has a miracle mentality. And so when we're little, we believe. But not only do we believe, we expect. And so I maintain my innocence. that I stay in a place of belief and expectation, no matter what is going on. I mean, everything could be hitting at once, and I find a way to maintain my innocence. I think that's a real strength of mine, no matter what takes place.
To me, that's really incredible. Tim, do you have some strategies for people who are listening right now to this episode and saying, I'm in a dark place. All the
Yeah.
evidence is against me. I have haters. I have, financial situations. Like, I'm losing the belief. I'm losing my ability to dream. How do we help them, Tim?
Yeah. So I think that one of the things we need to do is we need to go back to the place of innocence. For me, I trigger myself through music every single day. I said every single day. So for me, as a person of color, I was raised on Motown music. Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, Jackson 5, the Supremes, Aretha Franklin. So 7 days a week, I listen to Motown music. I already have today. So music triggers me. Old movies trigger me. Once in a while, even though it's really not that healthy, I will go through a supermarket and I'm shopping for other things, and I will buy like cereal, like Tricks Are for Kids or Sugar Smacks. They're not healthy, but I'll buy them, and usually I'll just take a few bites and then like I'm over it. It's too sugary.
Right.
But I do that to trigger myself to stay in a place of innocence. So it's a very complicated world.
Nice.
So I stay innocent like a child, but I get things done like an adult.
Wow, that's strong. So tell me, Tim, and when you're again come back for coach for so many people, I'm sure first of all you're seeing patterns that are the same, but also I'm sure you've seen a change in this digital world because we're just moving in such a fast pace that I assume there's a difference in what you've seen a few decades ago. What are you seeing, and what helps right now?
I think that there's never been as much pressure as there is right now on human beings
Right.
because of the digital world. As that the idea of exposure to things, you could maybe as a child be driving down the street and you may have seen a billboard and you saw a person smoking. So a child may say, well, what's that? Oh, that's somebody smoking. Well, what is smoking? So it was a billboard. It was a magazine. It was a commercial. Now, because of the phone, we have alerts. What is an Amber Alert? What is this? What is that? And with all the apps that people have, that a lot of them use, instead of like 50,000 thoughts that come to our mind, is what a lot of psychologists have felt that was a good number. I think you like double it now. Things are just flying at you like meteors, just coming at you nonstop. So to me, I have to find a way to silence the thoughts and silence the noise, and I do. I'm a pro at going to what I call the holy ground and not just living on the battleground.
Wow. Okay. So give us an example, maybe from a situation that you had. Like you want to you go after a specific goal, but all these evidence go against you, right? Because I'm sure that happens, and it's like, oh my God, like can I like? Is there anything else want to be thrown my way, right? And you still need to take those imperfect steps and continue. Do you have an example that you remember that you needed to shut that noise, or somebody that
Yeah.
you?
So this is like a human example of how things happen to us that are awkward and unpleasant, and we did not order them from Life's Diner,
Right.
where you just wake up one day and nobody thinks that you're going to chip your tooth, or that your dog's going to be ill and it doesn't look
Right.
good, or some bad news comes. So I was in Detroit, Michigan, and I was going to speak for this big event. It was snowing. This was 2 years ago. I get out of an Uber. Uh, it's a big car, like a sports utility. And the gentleman that is driving me says, "Hey, these must be these guys here to get you." It was three big guys, almost like bodyguard type guys. And they all had big coats on. So they came up, and when I was getting out of the car, it was pouring down snow. And I said to one of the guys, "You think it's safe to put my foot there?" And he goes, "Yes." So I put my foot down and I instantly slipped. And when I slipped, I twisted my ankle so bad it just went like all the way on the left side. I mean, it was so painful. I was on the floor, it's snowing on me. I'm in a suit. They paid me a lot of money to speak up front already. So I've got to deliver. So I'm on the floor, and the guy's trying to yank me up, and I go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa." I said, "I'm an athlete, but I know my body. So just wait 1 minute. I got to see if I didn't break my ankle." So they're all nervous because the guy said, "Yeah, you're okay. Step out." So I felt, and I moved it, and it just ballooned. And I'll work through
Mm.
this story quickly because there's a lot to it that's positive. And so I got up, and the guys held me. I started limping. Now, this has not happened since high school sports. And so one of the guys gets very nervous. He goes, "Oh my gosh, I have to go tell the owner that this happened to you and you can't speak." And I go, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. No, I didn't say I can't speak." He goes, "Well, you can hardly walk." I go, "Yeah, but it just happened to me. I didn't say I can't speak." "Well, when am I supposed to speak?" Well, the guy looks at his phone, looks at the clock, and he says, "You're on in 30 minutes. I go, "Okay, just take me to a side room." I'm in so much pain. So I have a severe sprain, and it was so thick in my ankle. So I'm just sitting there. I'm in so much pain, and it was hard to even stand. So I said, "You guys, being that this is an office, find me some duct tape, like the strong tape, and some scissors." So they go and find it. I said, "Now, can you guys leave the room?" And then the one guy said, "I don't feel comfortable doing that." I said, "Well, be comfortable, leave." So you're gonna get a kick out of this because you're a go-getter too. I pulled my pants up. I duct taped my ankle from the bottom all the way to my knee like a peg leg. Okay. Because I wasn't about to be stopped. And it was a big crowd. And I told the people, "Don't introduce me until after the promo video." So there's a promo video that we run. And so the promo video was going on. And then the next thing you see is me on stage. And I go, "It's so good to be here. Can we give the owners a clap? Oh my gosh, I love everybody." I was in so much pain. So
Oh my God.
no one ever knew because I stood in one place
Wow.
and just moved and smiled. I was charismatic up here, but I was hurting down here. So
Wow.
the moral of the story is we all play hurt.
We all play hurt. I love
Yeah,
that.
and I'm okay with that. That's just life.
And I think the other thing that you're showing, and I think it's something that I really believe is that every successful person anybody admires survived the season you didn't see, right? Like everybody has something that you didn't necessarily see. It just kind of looks like it's easy. It looks successful. It looks like they're always winning, but they
Well,
all have
you said
moments.
perfectly. They survived a season they did not see. So it's almost like the weather reporters saying this is going to be the weather, and then it's not, right? It's like I remember like way back to 1988. People always have sayings like, in 88, it's going to be great. And then it wasn't. So I don't know what they've come up with for 225. But, people have these slogans and these sayings at the beginning of the year.
Right.
You're right. We learned to survive a season we did not see coming.
Amazing. So tell me, Tim, based on everything that you accomplished, and maybe I do want to go for a second. I know these, opportunities came to you, but I think a lot of people are listening and saying, I don't necessarily want to, I want to create my own luck. Like, I don't want to just count on Oprah at some point coming up to me or NBC at some point coming up to me. How can I be more intentional, strategic with making luck happen, right? Is there a situation where you created, and again, everything you've done, you actually created your own luck, but do you feel like there's something specific that you've done in order to get some attention from specific person you really wanted?
Great question. So the thing about my approach, which is like again out of that place of innocence, is build your spot in life, put the spotlight in your spot. But people don't realize that I'm in the technology business. I'm in the AI business. I'm in the furniture business. I'm in the jewelry business. I'm in the entertainment business. I'm doing Broadway plays. I have my own talk show coming out next year. I have my own talk show in 92 airports of the world right now. I write for magazines. So I'm doing all those things while sitting here with a Beatles shirt on. Did you just catch that?
I did.
Okay, so to me, it's like this idea of the duck that underneath, on top,
Right.
underneath. So
And for those listening, by the way, not seeing the video, basically it's the duck like trying to scramble their way like underwater versus it looks like it's all kind of like swimming along, right? Which is true, right? This is how we look like. I mean,
I'm a
sometimes there's a
machine.
lot of
I'm a
hustle.
machine. I'm a machine. I'm up early. I study 2 hours a day. If you say meet me at 8, I'm there at 10 to 8. Um, I'm very, very disciplined. I never used to miss school. I got good grades. If I hurt your feelings, I'll apologize. If I let you down, I'll ask you why. Um, there's a lot of discipline involved in what I do. But to me, I don't do it just to get great results. I do it because it's the right thing to do. And then that gets me great results. So I think that too many people are so result oriented that they're constantly looking for the result. Where's the results? 3 months. I've been in your program for 3 months. Where's my results?
Right.
6 months. Where's my results? No, I do it because it's the right thing to do. I want to do everything at the highest standard that I
Right.
can.
I love that. So, Tim, if you're looking back at your younger self, is there something that you wish somebody reflected back to you?
Yeah, I think that I wish I was more in the moment, fully present, fully feeling, fully alive, because I had so many amazing moments and then a new opportunity yanked me out of that moment. Like I'll never forget. I was at a wedding, and I was actually officiating the wedding, and Donna Summers was there, And Donna Summers was a friend of the people that were having the wedding. And Donna asked to sit next to me, and she said, "I'm such a huge fan of yours." And I used to love Donna Summers' music. And I'd never met Donna Summers. And we're having this amazing conversation. And one of the guys that works with me taps me on the shoulder and he goes, "Tim, we got to go." And I go, "Already?" Because we had another obligation. So I had so many obligations of this thing or that premiere or this situation or now fly here or now move there, that I was not in the moment many times
Right.
when just brilliant things had unfolded, and I wish I would have stayed. Or being with amazing people and they say, "Hey, I know we've been here for 2 days. Uh, if you would like to stay one more day, I think it'd be beneficial." And I'm talking about with some brilliant people, let's say even in business. And I had obligations. So in the stage of life that I'm in now, I really try not to overbook myself and I try to really stay in the moment.
Oh, that's such a beautiful thing to hear, Tim, because I think that's usually, again, in this fast-paced environment that we're in, there's always a go, 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 and it's never about let's really embrace the moments. And those are
Mhm.
special.
Yes. Hmm.
So I will just say, Tim, I want to respect your time. I know you have more things, but um, your talk is still something that, a lot of people, a lot of our clients, we've had you in LeapCon, one of our, big premiere events, and a lot of people are still talking about that talk and how it inspired them and made them think of themselves in a different way and kind of just take those limiting beliefs and shatter them and become a better human and a better self. So first of all, thank you.
Yes. And thank you. And I mean this because with you at your place in life, because you're a phenomenal leader of leaders, and I mean that with all my heart, is that you could get so many other speakers. There's great communicators, facilitators out there. What a privilege to be on your platform. I think you felt that from me, that it was a privilege, and that I just asked you, "What do you want me to do?" And so, what a privilege to do that. And I really loved your community and the culture of your community.
Oh, thank you, Tim. And yeah, I saw you speaking in Grant Cardone, right? And on the cruise. And for me, it was like, this is exactly what I need. So, first of all, if anybody's listening, that might be very much the talk that you need. But Tim, thank you so much for everything and for inspiring and just making this world a better place. We need more of that.
Thank you. Thank you. Been great talking.
More episodes that you're going to love are right around the corner. So definitely make sure to click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Also, who in your life should see this today? Do share this with them. This will inspire and help those you care about and helps us continue to bring amazing guests. And I will see you there.